I'll tell Joy you said hi. I'm going to turn it over to you guys. Do your thing. Like I said, this is interactive in any way, shape, or form you want to have it be. So ask questions, get dialogue going, and then when you guys wrap up, we'll adjourn. And just so you guys know, for those of you that haven't been out, at the end of the meeting, feel free to hang out, socialize, and just catch up.
All right, thanks everyone for having us. I'm happy to be here. I'm excited to be in Charlotte and excited to network with like-minded people. And we're all in the same industry in various stages of whether that's design, developers, owners, subcontractors, GCs. Just want to get to know like-minded people, share best practices, and see if there's anything that we can get outside of our own companies and share ideas and new best practices that we can take back and make all of our teams better and ultimately help improve the construction industry. So we're very excited about being in Charlotte. If you guys on your tables, you should have something that looks like this as a QR code. If you guys want to use your phones and take a picture of that, we're going to play a game a little bit later. And do you have a disclaimer? We promise we're not going to spam you later. It's just a fun game that we're going to play a little bit later in the presentation. So if you want to take a few minutes to do that, that'd be great. And you also on your table should have a picture of Jake and myself, or Joel, Joel and myself. So Jake and myself, we're on our business development team, and you have a QR code. So if something resonates with you throughout this presentation, you think, hey, we need to touch base with these guys a little bit later, that will pull up our phone numbers, our email addresses. Shoot us a quick email during the presentation after, or take this home with you. And if we need to connect at some point, that may be because we could work directly together. That could be just because we're both in multifamily. Somebody may be working in concrete, somebody may be MEPs, but we probably service the same clientele, the same GCs that we can network back and forth. So that's what we're about. We like to partner with like-minded people, and we may not be the right fit for everybody, but we want to make sure that we partner with people that are like-minded as us. So with no further ado, we'll get into it. I want to introduce our team. If you guys want to stand up real quick. So I'll introduce Tom Turnwald. He's our president and owner of National Door and Trim. Myself, I'm the vice president of business development and marketing. And we have Jake Scheele. Jake's our director of business development. And then we have Karli Turnwald. Karli is third generation Turnwald family member, and she is currently our general manager of the new plant that we just opened in Lexington, North Carolina, just north of town here. So that's part of the reason we want to get in front of the group, just network like-minded people. We're excited about being in the Carolinas and then the Southeast. We've serviced the Southeast for many years. Opening up this plant just allows us to kind of take it to the next level and be even closer to some of our key clients that we service. So as we get into it, we wanted this to be a little bit interactive, so feel free to raise your hands if you have any questions. Stop us throughout the presentation, and we'll make it interactive throughout. But I'm going to play a quick video that hopefully just gives a little bit of flavor about our history, our company, who we're about, and Tom will be the main speaker in that video.
Sorry about that.
Just have Tom stand up and narrate it.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah, we could do that. So.
We'll just count all the ands and ums.
Hey, there we go. Save.
At Millwork Brands, we combine over 40 years of industry know-how and trusted partnerships into a solutions-based approach focused on your needs for success at each level of the process. By having all these capabilities under one roof, MDI has a quality control plan in place to eliminate mistakes and get them from start to delivery faster. I'm driven by the passion of the employees at Millwork Brands. Our team listens to the customer. We work hard to understand the pain points they typically endure within our scope of work. If you don't have longevity in this industry, you just continue to make the same mistakes over and over. It's different with us. We have local people that are rooted in this community, that are dedicated to this company and staying here, and experience is everything. What that means to our customer is consistency. We have deep vendor relationships that have kept our shelves full, and we have a great culture around here. What Millwork Brands has done is created a new generation of craftsmen. We're accomplishing goals that I never would have imagined of 10 years ago. There's a sense of accountability being family-owned. A lot of companies have to report to stockholders and investors. We just do what's right for the employees and what's right for our customers. That's really where we've built our success. We're going to grow because we listen to the customer. We listen to what their pain points are. We address that, we build relationships, and we build trust, not only with them, but with our vendors and our employees as well. It's a Midwestern standard that we live by.
And so now I'll go ahead and kick it over to the start of that video. Tom.
Yeah, thanks. We don't need to hear that again. Second generation, my dad started the company in 1978. He was a pre-finisher, and back then they would pre-finish everything on site, so he had a lot of ingenuity, designed some equipment to pre-finish in-house. Did that, I grew up, he started that in 78, I was 7 years old. In 95, I think I was 2 years out of college and thought that wasn't challenging enough, so I started a wholesale company. We started making doors, making trim, distributing wholesale to lumber yards, and several years later, I guess, I felt that wasn't challenging enough. I thought I would get into multifamily and student housing. So that's really been, once we got into multifamily and student housing, that's really been like a 10-year trajectory of growth for us. I mean, everybody in here that's familiar, I mean, you know why we're in this market is we've served the Midwest pretty heavily and got drawn into markets like this through our Midwestern partners that we're building throughout the Southeast. And once we got down here and I drove around, I'm like, man, there's a lot of multifamily in this market. So that's been our focus for about 10 years. A little bit about the rest of our history. Just to point out the fact that we are pretty resilient folk. In '94, we struggled through a fire that pretty much burnt the place down. In 2002, not really a fun fact, just a fact, we had 2 plants in the same industrial park, and a F4 tornado came through and wiped out both plants. And within about 4 weeks, we had a facility secured, started pulling stuff out of the rubble and manufacturing again. And we were almost, within 2 months, we were almost fully operational. So we have 2 facilities in Ohio, and then this fall I bought a facility in Lexington, North Carolina. We've had contracts in the area that we knew we were going to ramp up this year that we could fill that facility with. And our leadership team developed that plan, and my daughter, who was my age when I started the wholesale company, said, hey, I love the South, and I would like to move down there and run lead on that. So that's my daughter, Karli, and like she said, she's 3rd generation. I have a son involved too. He does quality control. So yeah, there's a lot of family involved. So with that, I'll turn it over to Karli.
There's a nice picture of myself and my younger sister supporting the old National Door and Trim logo and the hats there. But like they've said earlier, I'm 3rd generation. It's been a privilege to grow up in this company, and it's been exciting and fun to just see the whole company just evolve. So I'm general manager there, and on the next slide we have pictures of the facility. Obviously we're in still the beginning stages, but we have our door line placed, and now we have racks up and we're ready to receive materials that are coming in a little bit. Without further ado, I'll introduce
Jake, Joel. So I'm Steve. I came from Fort Wayne, Indiana today. I am a Hoosier through and through, and I appreciate Tim for having us out here today. Anybody ever heard of National Door and Trim here? Yeah? Okay, I recognize you. I think we've had a call together before. So we're new to this market, but we're not new. I guess I should say we're new. Our facility's new to this market, but we're not necessarily new to this market. We've got about 250,000 square feet worth of warehouse and production facilities about right here in the northwest corner of Ohio. And kind of through those relationships, as Tom said, we started doing business on the commercial side with companies out of Columbus, Ohio, Indianapolis, Indiana, kind of our region. So we really serviced this state, kind of the south part of this state, and a little bit of this state. It caught on, Right now we're doing business with 4 of the top 5 student housing companies, Subtext, Landmark Properties, and some of these guys got a hold of us and they said, man, we really like what you guys do. We really like how you guys do it. You got to travel with us. So we started doing that. Generally, at any point, we have somewhere between 60 and 70 projects happening at all times. Right now, we're working in 13 states. So the map's going to kind of show you, like I said, our core states, Indiana, Ohio, Michigan, Kentucky, We do some Findorf work up in Wisconsin, Tennessee. We've got Georgia. We've got projects in Alabama. We got a project in Pensacola right now. North Carolina, South Carolina. So 13 states total. Ask Tom later why we're up here. He can explain that one to you. But we do a little bit in Montana as well. So generally we like to say we're kind of that southeast smile, but at some point, you know, we're a little west too. So anybody have any questions about kind of where we do? And honestly, we've been in this market previous to us buying our facility as well. But what we really found here in servicing this from Ohio is that, man, we can be a lot more nimble if we've got a boots on the ground type operation there. It's really going to allow us to be a lot more flexible, a lot more nimble, and also free up some of that capacity in an Ohio facility to, you know, maybe create some of this area down here, you know. So yeah, so we'll see. Kind of the sky's the limit for us.
So I know you guys are National Door and Top, National Door and Trim.
We are not National Millwork. That's a good question.
No, where does Millwork Brands come?
It's a great question. So Millwork Brands is our parent company. Tom owns Millwork Brands. Millwork Brands has a history of doing residential wholesale business as well as residential retail business. We also do commercial wholesale business as well as what we do here, which is essentially commercial retail business. And what that does, I've been with Tom for about 16, actually this month is my 16th year with Tom. I'm the Director of Business Development through all the different channels. So, you know, we work with the companies that are, hey, they're residential guys, right? They're selling roofing packages and window packages, and they can throw doors and trim on the truck too. And they look for suppliers like us to partner with to say, hey, we need 2,000 doors. Only the wood, they call them doors, jams, and millwork, right? And moldings. You guys on the commercial side call them, you know, doors, frames, hardware, standing and running trim, right? A little bit of a different language, but they have to have a group like us, essentially, to supply that residential type of stuff. Well, we also work with some of the commercial guys, some guys that say, hey, we buy commercial product direct from all the, you know, Asa Abloy, all the different suppliers, but we don't have an inroad with Masonite, with Joe. We don't want to spend $3 million setting up door lines and buying facilities. And so they have to have a partner like our wholesale division as well to be able to support their business model. We look at it and we say, man, we see the pitfalls. I know I can't make that guy competitive buying wholesale and competing with a group like us who buy everything direct, right? I know I can't work with that residential guy. And, you know, one of my thoughts here was we're going to play a game of telephone. And I'm going to start over here, and I'm going to give a door spec to this person. And we're going to take it all the way around the room, right? I want to see what that door spec looks like by the time it gets back to me. Half the time that's what it is, right? There's 5 different channels of communication by the time somebody has to be responsible for ordering the right door. So we think we do it better. We think we do it different. And we're looking for, you know, just great partners that kind of agree with the philosophy that we have. That's a great question, though. Yes, sir.
Everybody's gonna wanna know that I'm the only one that's got a big mouth that'll ask it.
I'm 46.
Is any of the veins that go for the industry, do y'all install?
We do, absolutely. We want to install.
There
We
you go.
wanna-
That's
we-
the right answer.
You wouldn't be here if you didn't
Turnkey.
install.
There you go.
We want to sell every package that we can sell you, turnkey package, because what that does, you know, kind of another thing about our business is we're not a transactional company. I don't want your order, right? I don't want your, hey, we got an apartment complex coming up next year. You want to do it? Man, I got another guy that does apartment complex after apartment complexes. I know what his submittals look like. I know, you know, what the ins and outs of his program is. We want those types of partners. So one thing, probably the biggest challenge with working with third-party subcontractors that are doing the install is the communication. Hey man, look, I'm missing 22 lock sets. No, you're not. Here's your paperwork. It's signed for right from your job site. When we own the install piece on that, we're talking to ourselves. Hey, we need to find 22 lock sets, right? So from a relationship perspective, we want to install as much of our product as we can.
All right, the second question, one of your slides said You had us at Carolina Barbecue.
Yeah.
You got a favorite restaurant in Lexington yet?
I think we tried a few.
There's
I'm
several
a-
good ones.
Yeah, I'm a barbecue connoisseur, so
There you go.
I'm still a little bit partial to some hometown stuff.
Okay.
We have the best pulled pork in the country. In the country.
Five words.
Right in
Arguably.
Lexington.
Arguably.
Which one's your favorite? Lexington
Between-
barbecue?
Eastern, sorry. But it's both good.
Yeah.
So we have two Eastern and Lexington. A little different. And they're both good. They're both better than anything else.
Okay, forget that. Is it the white slaw or the red slaw?
Well, is it vinegar or
Yes.
Right.
Vinegar and mayonnaise.
Easy.
So you're in Lexington.
Easy.
Oh, red slaw.
Wait.
Oh, red slaw there.
I see a little bit of both there.
A little bit, but if you go to the old ones, they only red slaw.
Okay.
They're real traditionalists.
Hey, back in Indiana, we're known for like our grilled cheeses and our chicken tenders. At least I got 4 kids. That's all they ever order. So, and they order it everywhere we go. So it's got to be good.
Hey, I'll say this. With Wood Partners, we cover 6 of those states up there.
Yep.
And I want to thank Tim for bringing one of the subs. Appreciate that. Where's Tim?
He's behind you.
Oh,
He's behind you.
Thanks, Tim.
That's what we're all about.
Yeah. But no, we'd love to.
Yeah, at the end, you're
love,
going to.
love hearing you guys are opening the plant in Lexington.
Turnkey is major.
That's there's only, and you mentioned National Millwork. I apologize. I actually, before I went back and looked, I thought that's who was coming tonight. I'm like, they don't have a reputation to speak of them, so I don't know what you're talking about. But then I was like, oh, they're not. That's not who they are.
So Cory and I have 2 different National Millwork stories. His story is someone called him and said, hey, listen, bro, I can't do business with you because you never called me back. And Cory's like, man, I've never heard of you before in my life. What are you talking about? And this guy's like, yeah, you're National Millwork. He's like, no, we're National Door and Trim. Mine is, I met a guy in Virginia and he goes, I used you guys in my last company and you did a great job. I can't wait to work with you again. And I'm like, did you? He's like, yeah, National Millwork. I'm like, yeah, you did. Let's hop on that Teams call and talk about the details. So it's a pro and a con, you know. Everybody's got their flavor.
So you guys pick up the all metal.
Yep.
Stuff.
Yeah, wood doors, frames, hardware, metal doors, frames, hardware, standing and running trim, install, the whole package. Really what we're not touching is the aluminum storefront. You know, and we, like I said, we want to install everything we put in the project. So we have teams that can manage. I mentioned we're in the student housing space. If anybody in here has been in the student housing space, you know that's a tricky space, right? When August comes and you're the door guy and you're at the end of that project and the concrete guy couldn't get his shit together in the front of the project, you're the guy that's trying to pick up for that, right, at the end. So, you know, we've been there, we've done that. We kind of wrap our head around that whole thing. So, you know, we like to think that we're kind of built for this, but you know, we also kind of let our work speak for itself.
So every once in a while we get out, we get our boots dusty because you know, guys, most of these guys out here don't get out of the office too much. Are y'all open for a plant tour down the road?
100%. We're talking about doing an open house, and maybe when we do our open house, we'll shoot this whole group kind of a group invite. You know, it's kind of a welcome, one, you know, wide open facility. We'll have some barbecue there with some, have some mayonnaise coleslaw.
It's not about the slaw, it's about the sauce.
Everybody will be happy.
You don't want to do that.
I think you got plenty of barbecue in Lexington.
Yeah.
That's how you bring your Montana shrimp. Don't make sense.
Crab legs.
Northwest side.
Man, I'm so
Between
far off
Fort
my
Wayne and
speech.
Lima.
Anybody else have any questions?
Look, that's just because y'all don't ask them. Y'all know they're on the tip of your tongue.
I got one. So you might have asked while I was gone, but how have y'all changed your management of the job sites? We did a project with y'all up the road here
a while ago, maybe 4 years ago, and this kind of didn't go the way we planned it, from y'all's side and our side. So I was just curious, like from manpower, from your standpoint, do y'all put a guy on the job?
We've got a senior project manager located in Apex now.
Okay.
That's a huge difference from 4 years ago.
Yeah.
We've got a project manager also located actually here in Charlotte now. With our facility comes our bodies, right?
Sure.
And the more we grow here, and the facility is really our proof of, hey guys, look, we're here.
Yeah.
We're not going anywhere,
Okay.
right? We're not going to tuck our tail and head back to Ohio when things get weird, right? We're right up the road in Lexington. So our facility is really just kind of our concrete, our brick and mortar of, look, you guys, we're here, you can trust us. If you need something quick, one thing that's always been a little bit tricky from Ohio to service here is kind of that early, hey, we need a mock-up unit, right? And it's only got 10 doors on it, maybe a couple of hollow metal pieces, and we got to figure out how to make that all happen. That's what this Lexington facility, that's one of the big differences you're going to see. But also, you know, from the project management piece, 4 years ago we weren't doing install. That's going to be a huge difference for us too, now that we can manage our labor. Every project that we have will have a project manager, a project executive, it'll have a purchasing team, it'll have a project manager of labor, it'll have a site supervisor of labor, and then it'll have a senior project manager over top of the whole entire thing. So the more resources we can toss at a package, I think that'll probably be the biggest difference from 4 years ago to today, is we just keep getting better. You know, we keep pivoting and adapting and doing better.
What was that project?
It's 11240.
11240.
North Lake.
Have to ask Brian about that.
Here in the Carolinas?
Yeah,
Okay.
north side of town here.
Okay. Are you sure it wasn't National Millwork?
There's another Joel Scheele.
I don't think we've done one. I don't think we did one down.
Well, maybe it was something else. So my company's based out of Mishawaka.
Okay, yep.
So we've used y'all on other properties.
Yeah, we've done a few projects in Indiana.
Okay.
Yep. Yep.
So might be getting my wires crossed, but either way.
Yep.
Yeah, I mentioned I was coming here, so they were like, oh,
Give those guys a hard time. Ask for Joel. Ask for Joel. Let him have it.
yeah.
So our company does multifamily rehab. So we are the construction arm of a bunch of guys that go around and buy big, huge old complexes.
Yep. And you get the tax credit.
Tax credits.
Yep.
And they're okay. So we're taking older buildings that are already there, that already got tenants, and we're going to do them floor at a time. But they've got all these government specs about you can't have bifold doors, they got to be regular doors, and they can't be wood frames because they get torn up too easy when Section 8 housing people don't take care of them. So they got to be a hollow metal frame. But you go in there, and it's 1 5/8" 20 gauge stud with 1/2 inch sheetrock on each side. And the question is, do you custom bend your own jams, metal jams, to be able to make?
You're gonna have to call me later. You're gonna have to call me later so I can take some notes.
Huh?
You're gonna have to call me later. I'm gonna have to run that one. I'm gonna have to run that one back up the chain. I mean,
Can you make odd throat sizes?
Yeah, absolutely we can. There's a company out of Cincinnati called the Model Group. They were responsible for the Over the Rhine renovation. I mean, they've done all that historic. They've mastered historical tax credits. We did a project for them in Fort Wayne. Went great. We did a project. We're doing a project right now for them in our own hometown. It's a big historical tax remodel credit.
Yep.
And it went horribly bad. So it was just one of those things. Every time they tore something open, they had to make something custom, and it was like one door at a time. It was just brutal.
Yeah.
So it just like when we look at those projects and we're asked to do them, we just thoroughly vet to see how much risk is in it because we're very risk averse. So it's just project by project, just because we can usually identify which ones are going to be. The only reason we did the one in our own hometown is because it was in our hometown.
Mm-hmm.
Sure. But we do them, but it's just careful not to get into the door because we're good at 3,000 doors. We're not good at a door at a time. You know, show up and measure it and build it. It's just really tough.
yeah,
But we do it.
and another thing Cory's gonna talk to you about a little bit here is the types of projects that we look for. I mean, we're very specific about what we do. We drive in our lane, we go fast, we go straight, but we stay right in our lane, right? We've done hospitals, we've done hospitality, we've done, some of these other types of projects that, man, we add the most value in multifamily student housing and a little bit of senior living. So that's really the lane that we try to stick to. Anybody else got anything? Everybody's been to a wedding here, right? Everybody been to a wedding? Does anybody know what the anniversary dance is? Mm-hmm. Who knows what the anniversary dance is? That can explain it to us. Let's hear it.
It's where you start. How many have been married for 1 year? How many have been married for 5 years? How many have been married for 10 years? It is, they start calling those numbers. You have to leave the floor.
Yeah, what happens at the end then? At the end of the dance, you got two old people. They're like holding each other weird, right? And they're kind of dancing slow, not moving their legs. So we're going to do our version of that. It's called the pain dance. So if everybody can just stand up where you're at. You don't have to dance, I promise. It's not an actual dance. We're just standing up to mix it up a little bit. And Eric Clapton's going to sing to us. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to read some pain questions. And I want you to sit down if this is not a pain for you, right? And everybody might sit in the first question, and my game's going to be ruined, but I don't think it's going to happen. If escalating prices are a current issue for you, stay standing. Plus one, maybe, not really. Right now. All right. If you struggle to find coverage in some scopes, stay standing. How are your partners? Everybody's good, responsive? A lot of pain in here. I only have like 10 questions, so I'm going to have to narrow it down at the end. Almost got you? If your bidders disregard your deadlines, stay standing. This is a pained group. If bidders breaking spec and not telling you is an issue for you, stay standing. Surprise, I quoted the wrong doors. Still good? If incomplete bids are an issue for you, stay standing. I asked the wrong question. If you feel like your bidders are guesstimating and not estimating, stay standing. If you have one or more children at home, stay standing. We're going to start paring them back now. At home. This is pain. When they're gone, they're not painful anymore. If you have 2 or more children at home, stay standing. We're losing them. What are we down to? 3? If you have 3 or more children at home, stay standing. Pain dance winner. We got you a bottle of Yellowstone bourbon to ease that pain.
The guy that helped smuggle it in. He did. He was my cover.
Any other questions before I turn it back over to Cory from me? We really appreciate you guys letting us be here. Again, thanks to Tim. And yeah, our contact info is going to be at the end. So get your phone out and hit our QR codes for our pictures and our info. Thanks, guys. Here's Cory.
Thanks, Jake. So hopefully that's fun. Everybody got off their feet and going home with, what was your name?
John.
John's going home with some bourbon to drink tonight or whenever. So
I got 4 daughters, so I have a good supply of bourbon.
Yeah.
He's truly the winner. Not just daughters, they're all, teenagers and above.
Yeah, that'll be perfect.
Still at home.
Yeah. Well, so you may be wondering, we've kind of hit on it, but who do we typically service? Typically the projects that are a deal for us and the clients that are attracted to us, it's usually new construction. It's in a multifamily, senior housing, student housing space. Typically, probably about 90% of our clients are vertically integrated, meaning they develop the land, they have a development team, they have a construction arm, and then they also either property manage that, or they third party the property management side. And then the other 10% of our business is GCs that are typically doing negotiated work. So we're not doing a whole lot of work with, except some loyal contractors have been with us since the beginning. We don't do a lot where the GCs, there's 4 or 5 different GCs bidding. With some of our relationships, we just found that more of our value and our relationship-based approach is focusing on those developers that are vertically integrated, or some of our GC partners that are doing negotiated work with those developers and owners. Student housing, largest student housing developers in the nation. I think out of the top 10, we're probably doing about work with seven of them right now. As Tom mentioned, we got to balance that because student housing is a different animal than the typical multifamily. Just from the standpoint of that date is not going to change no matter what happens in between ahead of us. So we just we have a really good system in place that helps us execute those. And compared to the past two, each year we've kind of grown and we've developed our processes. We have a very detailed quality program. I think we shared some of that with Tim and his group, and I'm happy to share that with anybody else if you're just curious what that looks like, what that may look like, and how we manage that from start to finish. It's especially very important on any project, but especially student housing when you have to hit those dates and they're so critical. We also do senior living, companies that gear product towards a 55 plus population. We can do senior living when it comes to independent care and memory care. A lot of times that's not our ideal, just because there's a lot more of the access control, some of the different types of systems that you need, and it can be more of a hospital type of build from that standpoint. So we can do that. We've done it in the past, but our bread and butter is multifamily, garden style, all the way to 17-story, 27-story high rises. Complex student housing, standard of Bloomington. We did a project that was over $4 million on our scope of work for complex student housing in Bloomington. So we're partnering with some of those projects, and multifamily is definitely our bread and butter. We don't get involved with hospitals, hotels. We really want to stay in our lane and focus on that. So what is so attractive? It sounds somewhat cliche, but we all kind of follow Tom's lead. Tom kind of leads and we follow his lead. So, very relationship driven, and Tom hires people and he doesn't want to micromanage them. And we all believe in his vision and his mission, and he hires people that he believes are talented, and he lets us run and develop those relationships and execute, what he hired us to do. We're innovative, refreshing, solutions based. We have strong core leadership, so we have very low turnover. We have a higher retention rate, and for us that's meant we've been able to be very consistent, and we're very reliable because of that in our processes. And when we do have mistakes, we try to learn from them and say, Tom's the first one to say, hey guys, it happened. I understand we're all human here, but let's not have that same mistake happen again and again and again. Let's develop processes. It's usually not about the person we found. It's usually about the process. Something's lacking in that. So we have a quality team, a process improvement team that their whole role is to focus on some of those shortcomings that we've had and fix it moving forward. Our facility, we have space to store, space to build, space to grow with you. We want to grow with our partners. And people ask us, how many projects can you handle? Our door equipment, our door lines, we can pre-hang as many doors as we need to, but we're going to do it strategically and with the right partners. So we're very strategic about that. That allows us to be cost effective, storage solutions. We can store material. We have 500,000, 600,000 square feet of trim sitting on our shelves right now for student housing projects, multifamily projects. Owners, developers are approving billing for stored material. So for us, that can mitigate pricing escalations, and we have it when we need it on the job site. We don't have to worry about any supply chain disruptions. If all of a sudden the shipping containers have to take a different route around the globe, it's already on our shelves, so when you guys need it, that's not going to impact us and our projects. Locations, we're located where you need us. Between our Ohio location and our North Carolina location, we can cover a very large geographical range southeast of the Mississippi. Over 250,000 square feet of warehouse space. Our product too, a lot of you guys might be wondering, what exactly do you guys provide? And we've kind of covered that a little bit in one of the questions that was asked of Jake. Sorry. We want to be your one-stop shop, your commercial, your hollow metal doors, frames, hardware, your commercial hardware, ready frame, timely frame at the unit entries. When you get into the units, your pre-hungs and trim, casing and baseboard, corridors, chair rail. We're going to be the one-stop shop, and with some of our key partners, it's been very important to them that we also do Division 10. They say, if you're going to partner with us, we need you to pick up bath accessories, toilet accessories, shower partitions. So we've been doing that as well. And not only do we do that, we want to install it as well, as we alluded to earlier. We want that control. We want that responsibility that if something's missing, if something's wrong with that opening, you guys come back to us. We would prefer that. And we're constantly vetting out finished carpenters that we subcontract and always evaluating them, scoring them. Some of them have great crews and some of their crews could be a little bit better. So we're constantly evaluating them and making sure that we have the right partners on each job.
As you moved into North Carolina, can you speak to the challenges in that regard, especially maybe versus Ohio?
As far as finding
Installers.
Yeah, so it's really unique. I'd say here in the Southeast, 99.9% of our jobs, turnkey is required. Everybody's buying out turnkey. In Ohio, Indiana, Michigan, Kentucky, we've introduced that to some of our clients up there, but a lot of that's material only from those standpoints. But we still probably have, I'd say we have some clients that are doing turnkey solely up in those markets. So in Ohio, Indiana, Michigan, Kentucky, I'd say we're probably doing 55% material only, probably 45% turnkey.
Who actually installs on those that you supply up there in that market?
They would many times it's the same exact people that we have relationships with. They're going direct to them rather than us doing it. So the labor pool of finished carpenters is typically very similar. It's just a matter of who do they want to manage those people on site, manage the schedule. The value that we have is managing risk. Tom talks about all the time is our goal and our job for your teams, what partners would be to manage the risk of that project. By us taking on that ownership, you could probably be more cost effective on paper by going direct with them, but then you also have somebody manage that. You're responsible for coordinating hardware, inventorying that, shaking it out.
No desire.
So, and first, it's not good for anybody when $1,000 closers, when you're trying to get C of O, come up missing. We want to be responsible for that. We have a hardware room. We have a specific setup. I'd love if anybody wants to go into the details on some of that quality program. How do we mitigate some of those issues? We can set up some time in the next couple of weeks to talk through that. But it's just things that we've developed, and owning the install has really allowed us to, not to say everything goes perfect on a job site. We all know nothing's perfect, but it really helps us mitigate the likelihood of some of those issues that we've seen in the past. And a lot of our team, we have different backgrounds. I have a finance background, and then I slowly transitioned into business development. And Tom had an opportunity, and I came on board 7 years ago. I really like relationships. I like process improvement. I like seeing how partnerships and businesses run. And that's been so for me, not growing up in the construction industry from the beginning. I have a fresh set of ideas, a fresh lens, and we always tell people the way it has always been isn't the way it always has to be. A lot of times they say, "Hey, how's your incumbent sub performing?" "Oh, you're just typical how it's always been. I don't think anybody's ever going to change that." But we're solution minded. Let's understand why. Why can't we do that? How do we remove some of those obstacles? Maybe there isn't an easy solution, but more likely than not, we can make improvements to some of those frustrations. So if any of these resonate with you, you may want to touch base with Jake and I a little bit later. If you are having headaches managing several vendors in Division 8, Division 10 scopes of work, kind of like passing around the phone that Jake mentioned, when you have so many people that are communicating back and forth, the more people you have to manage, the more likelihood you're going to miss something and there's going to be errors. Hidden field and administrative costs, you got to pay somebody to manage that subcontractor, whereas if you have a turnkey solution from us, we're going to do that for you on behalf of your teams, and we're going to be accountable and responsible to that. Poor communication and processes. That a lot of people come to us because they're just tired of the service they're getting. They can never communicate, and they have poor processes with some of their people that they're currently partnering with. Lack of qualified labor. Rather than your team going out and finding finished carpenters, that's what our team's doing. We're reaching out to hundreds and hundreds of contacts every given year to narrow it down into the top 5, top 10 finished carpenters. There's jobs in some markets, material only, where we're doing turnkey packages. And there's jobs where we're doing material only, and we know who the GC has signed up to do the installation of. We would not hire that installation partner to work under us. And for us, we got to be extra cautious when we go into a project like that, because we know they may not have good inventory control processes. They're going to cause some headaches. So for us, we do a very thorough vetting of some of our installation processes as we moved along. If the supplier's not looking to travel with your team, some people, the suppliers want to just stay in their geographical range. as you've seen, we now are in North Carolina. We're going to Bozeman. If we have the right relationship, the right partnership, we'll go wherever our key relationships want us to go, as long as it makes sense for both of us logistically, and we can work out the numbers to make it work out. Anybody have any questions on that before we'll jump into a quick game? If you guys want to make sure that you put that QR code. Yep.
Just kind of a general question, but you guys have hit on a lot of things that sounds like you guys are, kind of overcoming a lot of challenges, right? You're trying to find ways to make our lives better. What are your biggest challenges? Like what makes it difficult to get these jobs done? What is it? Is it in-house? Is it the terrible GC that can't get the submittals approved? Is it what is it?
We got one that just passed a year. We got a submittal that just passed a year.
Not bad.
Yeah, I mean,
You know what I mean? Because there's a lot that goes on in our world that we're constantly trying to improve on, especially with a group like Mill Creek. I mean, we're very much process driven, trying to figure out how can we make the widget a little bit better so even the subs can have a better experience with us. So I'm just curious to what do you guys see as your challenges on your side of the business when you're looking out
maybe
for
like
us?
even material delivery and how
Yeah.
that is. I know we're just as guilty as anyone as GCs,
Yeah.
for pushing you guys off, or whatever, and it screws everything up. So
I'll chime in with a couple of my thoughts, and maybe Tom and Jake or Karli have some items to add too. I think kind of starting at the front of the process, the buyout is one thing. Some people buy out right away. Within the first 90 days, they want to get 90% of the job buyout. That's huge for us. We can get that material coming, have it on the shelves when we need it. We have some clients, unfortunately, they wait till they're framing and they say, oh, the door guy, that's way down the road. But when you have 14-week lead times on some of this material and we're trying to get you the most cost-effective price, then you buy it out, we process the order, there's some kind of delay in the supply chain, and now you're behind schedule, and now nobody's happy because the job is, so buying out early. The submittal process is also key. When we're trying to lock in pricing and also make sure we don't have supply delays, like Jake said, we try to get submittals back to the GCs, the owners, the architects, within 10 business days is our goal. Get that to you. We would like to see if we could get approved submittals back within 30 days. That would be our goal. We had one project, a student housing one, where it was over a year. We just got them back. Over a year, we just got them back today. And they're building this whole time. It's not like the job site just standing still. So they're building away, and we still don't have approved submittals a whole year. And we've tried to push on them, and we just didn't have a lot of traction from that. So that's a big challenge from that standpoint. And then when we get turned over the job, it's a clear expectations of the schedule and the phasing. A lot of times you see where the schedule's not accurate. Well, all of a sudden it'll say one thing and it'll get pushed back two months, or it'll get pushed back 3 weeks, or it get pulled forward. It says, hey, you need to deliver it in 2 months, and somebody calls up and say, hey, can we get that next week? Thinking we just have pre-hungs built. If we built every single order in our shop, Tom would have to buy 200 warehouses to do that. We have all the components in our warehouses, and we can pump out a lot of pre-hungs, but we need to coordinate that so we can release it to production and get that built. So another challenge that sometimes we face is, we have semis loaded, and the day before somebody says, hey, push back that delivery, cancel that delivery. For us, that's a huge issue. We now have a semi full of material ready to go to the job site. Now we have to divert that truck, have that driver sit. If we don't have time to react and get another delivery scheduled, that can have some true cost to us. So clear expectations up front. So timely submittals, timely buyout, timely submittals, and then just organization, communication. It sounds what we all talk about, but once we get the job, an updated schedule and clear expectations on phasing and when things need to come are key. You guys have anything to add?
No, he hit on mine right at the end there. I think we're no different than you guys are. It's communication. This door guy keeps asking me for an updated schedule, we gotta have that, right? And when the call doesn't get picked up and the door guy kind of gets pushed off, and we keep asking it, we're not asking to be nuisances, we just need to understand that so we can support your project as best we can. I think communication is the biggest piece for everybody.
question. So with that being said, and you can answer honestly on this one too, with that being said, should we continue? Should we wrap it up now and head to the bar? Forget it. Charlotte is good in your scope.
This is gonna get interesting.
Getting close. All right, well, 8-6, so it looks like majority rolled on that one. So looks like a lot of people want to wrap it up, so we'll make it quick here, the last few questions. So what is the biggest frustration facing pre-construction professionals today? So this is where you type in, or just something that comes to mind, communication, whatever comes to mind. You know, what's the biggest frustration facing pre-construction teams today? Give everybody about 30 seconds. Apples to apples.
Good one. Good one.
Cost of goods, communication, design coordination, submittal turnaround. Does anybody want to pick explain to the group what they think is the biggest frustration that they entered and why? What's buyout comparison? What's frustrating about that?
That's like making sure that apples to apples, same thing.
Making sure your scope's covered, making sure that nothing changed.
Make sure that anything, everything you're capable of building and covering. I got guys that won't touch certain things and these be going down a rabbit hole. Like storefront's not as big a deal because that's pretty specific, but I got some guys that won't hang doors with bigger part of strip. It's like, what are you talking about?
We reserve the right to add Division 10 as needed to bid. I think beyond that, we usually try to get the Division 10 piece covered in the gap conversation. Like, hey, look, we're also missing wire shelving and shower doors. Can you guys cover that? Yeah, we can. We're not going to sell it to you by yourself if we build it into our bid. Absolutely. So I think we totally understand what your pains are there.
Yeah, I can just add a little bit of color to just the experience I've had with these guys. I mean, I didn't handle this scope of work, but I'll tell you, based on my previous experience with trim and door contractors, it was night and day in terms of, one, the communication, the ability to get what we needed. To your point, Josh, the breakdown was exactly what we wanted. So you're talking doors,
Quantities were
Division
right.
10, quantities, I mean, they're doing the right takeoffs, we're checking with their numbers, and then working through it, right? Like, even after we got all the numbers in, the amount of time that they spent with us to make sure that the scope was covered, both trim doors and Division 10, I mean, it was.
And we're usually driving the bus on that. We're usually the one that are trying to get you guys on the team's call so we can walk through our scope and make sure that, we've got everything covered for you. I mean, that's one of those communication pieces where, we're probably leading the charge on that. But at the end of the day, we want to make sure we're getting it right? That's to us, that's part of our responsibility.
It's one of the challenges, though, I think, you guys will probably agree that oftentimes you get the number and getting them back on the phone to really break down the trim doors and hardware.
100%.
It's hard. You'll eventually get them, but it takes a lot of time.
Yeah.
The VE was the other thing that was great. We had a ton of VE that we were able to get incorporated into that proposal, and some voluntary and some by us, but very helpful.
All right, we'll move on to the next question. So what is most important in evaluating pre-con partnerships? Is it getting the low price, somebody that's extremely responsive, submits bids on time and completes the bid forms, ensures that all costs are captured accurately, willing to provide budgetary assistance, or do you expect your partners to bid all jobs regardless of if it's a good fit? We'll open that one up.
You're missing one, sir. What is it? All of the above.
All of the above. Yeah.
Right. Next time, so we'll do better. Next time.
Yeah, so it looks like the majority, the landslide, yeah, ensuring all costs are captured accurately. Does anybody want to explain what their company does to try to ensure that you get all these bids from, say 3 door guys? How do you make sure that, hear the term apples to apples, bid forms? How do you do that cost comparison and ensure that you're not missing something?
We send them scope. So the biggest thing, and I was going to fill number 2, I think I got it. But we send out written scope. This is exactly what we want. The hardest thing we have to do is subs actually reading it and following it and filling out properly. So, because we feel like it's better for us to tell you exactly what we want and you follow that rather than us try to make out a form that's got 200 lines, because I know how door trim guys. We love the transparency when you give us all those line items. Love it. Unfortunately, it's hard to make. It's hard on everybody.
Yeah. On our end, we love that when you have a bid form and say, here's exactly what we're going to buy out in your scope. Here's what we want you to cover. If you can't pick that up, that's clearly market. And Jake and I are always working with our estimators. Hey, make sure that if there's a bid form that we're completing that, we're clearing up. If you're not including something that's in that scope, make sure we clearly call that out.
Yes, no buttons all the way down.
Yeah.
It'd be cool as an organization.
I know it. We're gonna love each other.
As an organization, that'd be kind of cool, like a cool accomplishment if you guys could drive a standard for a forum like that, because in our scope, we can probably help tell you, here's the critical pieces that you gotta make sure you cover, like let's get interior door count, patio door count, exterior door count. Let's talk about how metal frames, how many you have. Because sometimes we get asked to break it out, and I look at how we're being asked to break it out, and I'm going, that doesn't make any damn sense. Like, they're not going to be able to compare that to somebody else's. But that'd be pretty cool as a group, if you guys, whatever scope of work we're talking about, if you started driving that towards the standard. Because we don't contract.
We use a system called Building Connected. It's an online platform to submit bids.
So familiar with that.
And I hope that becomes a standard because that's what we use.
It's that Procore, right? There's only a couple.
I don't like Procore. I think this is a lot better. And it's a submission online, it goes through there. And I will say, one thing, speaking from the vertically integrated guys especially, we do break things down that can seem strange sometimes, because when we're sending out bidding, you're bidding for procurement, but for us pre-con guys, we're bidding for data as much as anything. Because that cost data is extremely valuable in what we do. So that's why I said, in some ways, all that transparency that a lot of door trim guys give you is helpful, because it does let you break things down. Because we're always applying that data to budgets. We're saying like, hey, we've got all these pipeline projects and we're trying to keep up, especially when escalation's going bonkers. You're having to keep refreshing that stuff all the time.
I'll tag on to that and say, like, if it's helpful to improve the process, as an architect, if we can tighten up our spec and all, so everybody's bidding on the same thing, let us know what that is.
Yeah, that's great. And we've always thought it'd be a great idea. We always like to sit down on the front end with the owner, the architect, and then the GC. And there's some clients we do that. We go door by door, and it can be a pretty lengthy meeting. But there's times where we say, hey, does this make sense? And we go through the hardware sets, the schedules, the doors, and it saves a lot of that upfront work really pays off. And our estimators, be it just multifamily, student housing, senior housing, they can see right away if something doesn't make sense. Hey, that's something you'd see on a hospital. You would never need that on a stairwell, or this type of door opening inside a multifamily or student housing complex.
And then when it goes to our detailers before submittal, these people are ridiculous. They're fine tooth combing it. They're asking questions, making sure everything's right. You're talking about no difference between 4 years ago. We just keep evolving in that role. So building great pieces.
That's something on the front end that helps us tremendously, because we do get these specs that's written by spec writers. And there's certain things in there that from the GC side, You can't tell if it's right or not. It's the door professionals that read it and says, that's wrong. It's like, well, I would never know that.
Fun fact, I found this out a couple years ago in a meeting with the Legion. Their spec writers got paid not on how many deals they closed or how much they closed. They got paid on how much they wrote in the spec. So they would literally write it to the highest spec they could. So we'd get a spec back and we're like, why would you use this spec? And so I'm talking to a senior VP at Legion, and he said, yeah, we're changing that because we found out that was, nobody was ever using that spec, but that's how the guys got paid. And so if they wrote $5 million of the spec, they got paid on $5 million. They didn't close that $5 million. It always got VE down, but you're starting it up. You're putting everybody through this extra work.
We've had architects recently tell us the Legion's trying to charge for writing specs now. And are they?
They won't through
So,
us.
so what's happened is they're going to us to operate writing specs now.
Yeah, we get Legion write specs for us. We got a great relationship.
I mean, we just had that recently on a project where our architect flipped from using Legion to Asa Abloy because they'll do it for free still, but they wrote a really bad spec on their hardware spec.
The Legion writes our specs, and when I say we've got a great relationship, like when we started doing multifamily, at first they didn't want us getting into that space because it was more complex than residential. Once we mastered it, they showed up with a lot of executives saying, hey, how are you doing this? We want to support you any way we can. So they write specs for us. I would say maybe in a situation where it wasn't a loyal Legion brand, a Legion customer, maybe they told them, hey, we're not doing this for free, but we use them. They're probably on 90% of our jobs unless we just can't spec ASA out because we can buy direct from ASA, they're harder to work with than what a Legion is from our standpoint. But again, that's our.
You see, Legion do it for maybe keep doing it for free.
They do it for us for free.
Yeah, again, it depends on. I mean, I'm sure I use this term weirdly, but it's like we're the biggest baby in the crib, right? And they feed the biggest baby first, right? So we work with them a lot. They take care of us because of who we are and what we're doing with them. So.
And that's where we see opportunities. We have a lot of clients that they do the same footprint over and over. It's just a different city, different market. And that's a lot of times if we get a new set of prints, it's a different city. And those changes, those things that we work through, we have to work through them again. So a lot of times we try to work to get to the table and say, hey, is there a way to standardize the spec? So if this is a hardware set that you liked at this last project we did, if that's good, then can we just incorporate those specs directly into the documents? That way, we're not bidding a different set and then going back and revising it and saying, hey, we want to go back and do what we did in Cincinnati, do the same thing that we did in Durham. Next question, assuming price is reasonably close, what is the most important consideration in selecting a sub? Price, owners need deals to pencil. Every single penny matters. Low price always wins. Relationship trust, that's always the most important thing. Turnkey packageability, ability to pick up multiple scopes of work. So do you want somebody that can give you a wide coverage? Or do you just go by your gut feel? If prices are close, it's just your gut feel and no other qualitative or tangible metrics. Go ahead and unlock that. Give everybody 15 seconds. Yeah, it looks like relationship trust is running away with that. I'm happy to see that's the results. That's what we're about too. Without relationship and trust, without trust and that strong relationship, then all the other factors are going to be tough to justify moving forward with. Does anybody want to explain, how they go about if they got two subs that are both qualified? You got two subs you've worked in the past, both can perform, both are doing have done equal performance in the past. How do you go about deciding between those? If that's concrete, if that's MEPs, if that's stores?
For any of us, we've run into multiple times because we like to think our relationships with our trade partners is the most important thing. And so we get in this habit of overloading somebody pretty quick. And that's the differentiating factor. So we've tried to do really well at managing a matrix of, who do we have where on every job that's going on currently so that we don't overload somebody too much. So if it comes down to, a project, they're both close and, hey, how many jobs we got going with these guys, how many jobs we got going with these guys,
Yeah, appreciate that. That's key. We do that same thing with our installation, our finished carpenters. You know, we get a good understanding. How many crews do you have? How many guys can you ramp up to? Can you take on one job at a time, 2 jobs, 3 jobs? And understand make sure that we put everything on a Gantt chart, and we're kind of forecasting out into 2026, 2027, that long range forecast, so we can constantly monitor resources on our end and also our subcontractor partners. What is the biggest frustrations of your operations team? You know, some of us are in pre-construction. You know, we have our set of challenges, our set of stresses, and then when we turn it over to operations, they have some frustrations as well. Is that poor communication from the people that get selected, not hitting delivery dates, too many relationships to manage, lack of technology to manage a job, or labor shortages? Okay. And so it looks like everybody's struggling with labor shortages, and that's where if you buy a turnkey package from us and our scope of work, we try to be the ones that are out there trying to find those qualified subs and qualifying them. You know, we would not bid a turnkey package with anybody if we didn't feel we could perform with who we selected. If we don't feel in that market, that city, that geographical range, that we have the partner, even if we think material-wise it'd be a home run for us, if we don't have that partner that we think can adequately install that, then we would pass on that opportunity. Last question, why do you think those challenges exist? 0% lack of talent, old school mentality, lack of technology, lack of collaboration, or complexities in the marketplace? The lack of collaboration and then lack of talent, or the lack of collaboration is one of the biggest challenges. Anybody want to just kind of highlight, how do you think we improve that in the construction industry? If that's a major challenge for all of us, how do we break down those silos? How do we break down some of that?
Train within.
Train within?
Gotta get them early. Yeah. That's the problem we're having, a lack of talent wise. I mean, we're recruiting out of schools all the time, but even then go beyond that, it's like it's got to start in freaking middle school or something. I mean, that's crazy. The construction industry, I think, is going to have a big challenge over the next 10 years, for sure.
Cory, you can explain what we do with the CEA program. Cory's done an excellent job. We start with seniors in high school, and we've been doing this for so long, we now have seniors going through college, and they're starting to come back full time with us.
Yeah.
And they're
that's awesome.
there's no way they're.
And our team, they're the best.
They're really good. Yeah.
Well, it's funny. We used to have, I think, a pretty good trade program in our schools.
Yeah.
And some of it has come back. I've seen a little bit of that, but I mean, it's just hard. Kids would rather go sit playing something on a video game or computer or otherwise, and not getting out there and digging trenches.
Yeah, but we put a lot of focus on developing talent. So we have a high school internship program, and my goal is to get those kids, I went to college and there's things I don't feel like I was prepared for. I went for finance. So I'm part of a nonprofit where we teach kids in elementary, starting in 2nd grade, financial literacy, economic education, and career exploration, the trades, letting them know you can be an engineer, you can be a craftsman, a plumber, an electrician, introducing those. So we have businesses in the city of Van Ort that will come in and they'll present programming to those students to help develop them and make them aware of what opportunities are out there. And then also in high school we have students that come in and I give them responsibilities just like I would a full-time employee, and I have them present. They have to present to Tom a leadership standpoint. I don't sit there and babysit them and micromanage them, and I treat them just like they're going to be if they enter their real life employment, and challenge them and develop them so they're not shocked when they graduate high school, and try to prepare them with some of the communication skills, accountability, and the things that they're going to need regardless of if you go to college, if you go directly to the workforce, if you enter a trade. Try to teach some of those intangibles that we feel like if people have the intangibles, we can teach them just about anything from a technical standpoint if they have that desire and know-how, whether that's trades, whether that's office, whether that's more the professional setting. It's those intangibles that even the soft skills. Continually trying to develop our estimators, our PEs, our PMs. So we work when conflict arises that we can resolve those the best way possible. Well, thanks everyone. Thanks Tim for having us. I appreciate you guys' time. Up here we have, and at the desk, we have the QR code. So if you want to touch base with Jake and I or just want our information, take a picture of that. Shoot us a quick email or text with your name, number, and we'll be sure to be in touch. And we can schedule some time, or we can talk after this event, or we can also schedule a Teams meeting or touch base at some other point in time when we're in town.
Cory, Jake, Karli, thank you so much. Down the nose, we thought we'd be